tonight.
This is a big league deal. There's no question about it. Everybody's talking about it.
The Republican debate stage is now set. So what can we expect from Donald Trump and the other candidates?
I really just want to be myself. I know the subject matter very well.
And a special preview with moderator Bret Baier. Then Frank Luntz is back with more from the New Hampshire focus group reacting to the 2016 GOP candidates.
The young people of today like, a handsome guy in office.
And a lot more trouble for Hillary Clinton now the FBI is looking into her email server. Hannity starts right here, right now.
And welcome to Hannity. So we're less than 24 hours away from the very first 2016 Republican primary debate that'll air right here on the Fox News channel. Here now to explain how the candidates are all prepping is campaign Carl Cameron. Well, it is Super Bowl, World Series, Stanley Cup time for those of us that love this, Carl.
It is, and it is for an awful lot of voters in the early voting states and here in Ohio, the quintessential bellwether swing state in the nation. So all 17 candidates will be here, and one of the things they've all been working on in a variety of different ways is brevity. They're used to talking as long as they want on your show and in their speeches and in their town halls and at their rallies. But tomorrow the timer's on, and they're limited to a minute apiece and only 30 seconds to rebut if somebody calls them out on something. For Donald Trump, it is a huge deal. As the front runner, front runners are always the big target. They also have the most to lose since they're at the front of the pack. Trump tomorrow has to show that he can be credible and respect the office and have the kind of demeanor that's worthy of somebody who will literally have their finger on the button. Of course, in second place is Jeb Bush, the father and son of the last two Republican presidents. He has to prove that he is his own man, something he's been saying over and over on the campaign trail. And he has to show that there's a real fire going in that belly. A lot of Republicans see him as very tame compared to Trump, as well as the rest of the field. Another guy to watch, obviously, is Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. He's been polling in third place, sometimes tied with Bush for second. And the Wisconsin governor is very popular in the leadoff caucus state of Iowa and will need to show here in Ohio and across the country that his appeal can extend past the heartland and get to some of those flinty Yankees in New Hampshire and folks in the South and South Carolina, the third state to vote in this process. So a long way to go. And indeed, they're all practicing, some really hitting the books, others trying to relax. Walker, by the way, tomorrow will be opening the Wisconsin State Fair and then coming here for the debate tomorrow night.
They'll just have a couple of fried Twinkies, a couple of fried pickles and Oreos. Perfect way to start prepare for a debate.
Anything on a stick.
We've been through this process together a lot, Carl. When you think about it, there's a lot at stake here tomorrow. Somebody could stumble. Remember Rick Perry, go back to the last election cycle? Sure. I mean, he was a front runner. Couldn't remember the three government agencies he wanted to get rid of. That was a big moment. People are going to be looking to see if you're forceful, whether you have a sense of humor, if you can be forceful and not mean. There's a balancing act out there for all of them.
Well, the period up until the first debate is usually sort of referred to as the invisible primary, because most of the fundraising, which is what they focus on, is really done behind closed doors, and there's a little bit of campaigning out on the trail and a little bit of TV. Everything changes now, and when that happens, there's something different this year. The Iowa caucuses used to have what they called their Ames straw poll in this month, usually in this week, right before their big state fair comes. And that always had the effect of taking the field with Republicans, sometimes as much as 10 or 15 candidates, and chopping it down to less than 7 or 8. There is no Ames straw poll anymore. Iowa Republicans have let that go. So in a lot of ways, not to raise the expectations too high on Megyn and Brett and Chris for tomorrow night, but in a lot of ways, many of the Republican campaigns are worried that a poor performance last night could have the same effect and winnow them out of the field, taking away a lot of their ability to raise money and perhaps being heard in a crowd that's this big.
All right, campaign Carl Cameron. We'll see you there tomorrow night. Thanks so much for being with us.
You bet.
Now, Donald Trump, who is dominating in the early polls, he's going to be center stage for tomorrow's big debate. Now, Trump was on my radio program earlier today. Here's what he said, what he'll do if he's attacked by the other candidates. Listen.
What is your strategy going in if you want to share it?
There's no answer to it, John. It depends on how I'm treated. It shows, it depends. Maybe people will attack me, in which case I will absolutely attack back. Every one of them have problems, and I will certainly attack back. And I respect some of the people up on the dais. I won't tell you who, but I do respect some of the people up on the dais. Others I have less respect for.
All right, here with reaction from the Weekly Standard, Stephen Hayes from the Washington Times, Charles Hurt, and associate editor, columnist at the Hill newspaper, A.B. Stoddard is with us. Guys, good to see you all.
Good to be with you.
Hey, Sean. See you. Steve, I know you've been a Trump critic, but that seems fair. If they attack him, he's going to attack back. Fair?
I think it does seem fair. Yeah, no, that was maybe one of the most reasonable things I've heard from Donald Trump over the past couple months. It's entirely fair.
You don't think building a wall is reasonable? You don't think balancing the budget and getting Washington movies is reasonable?
No, I think building a wall is perfectly reasonable. I think declaring that you're going to make Mexico pay for it without actually having much of a plan, less reasonable to me. But look, I don't blame Donald Trump for that position, for that stance on his approach to the debate. And I think it's smart. I think if you look at his rhetoric over the past couple days, he seems to have toned it down a little bit. He seems to appreciate the fact that this is a serious moment, that he's going into this first debate, that he's going to be asked tough questions, that he's going to be asked for substance. And he seems to have a different tone, I think, than he has the sort of bombastic tone over the past couple of months.
What do you think? Charles, you've been a Trump fan. 26, 26, 24, 21. Those are his 4 most recent polls in a field of 17. That is just dominating across the board.
It really is. And quite frankly, Sean, you know, the big argument that we've heard from all the experts around here has been that, oh, but there's this tremendous ceiling. That's the highest he can get. Once it gets down to 1 or 2 candidates, and this still may bear out to be true, but their argument is that he'll never get above a certain threshold. But what I think is most interesting out of that Wall Street Journal poll from last week was you had his basic poll number, but then the next question was who would be your second candidate, and Trump wasn't number 1 in that, but he was number 2. 11% of GOP voters who supported other candidates said that Trump was their second choice. That tells me that there's actually some movement in whatever ceiling there is.
You know, Charles, I would agree because remember the early polls showed that 57% of Republicans said they'd never vote for him under any circumstances. That number was pretty much cut in half.
And I think it has to do with that he has some staying power, and as Steve just pointed out, he has moderated his behavior a little bit and his sort of temperament a little bit to sort of match the seriousness of the situation. And who knows, you know, if he continues to do that, it could be, you know, we could be looking at a real sort of political juggernaut here.
That'd be pretty interesting. AB, I got a very honest answer out of Trump today. I asked him, it's all right, why did you donate to Democrats? Why did you donate to Hillary Clinton? You know what his answer was? Because I know that in a couple of years, if I need help, they would move heaven and earth to help me. So I said, basically, you were buying influence. He said, that's the way the business world and political world work today. We on this panel all know that's true. Nobody else would ever admit that, though. What do you think of that answer?
Well, everyone loves the fact that he's very blunt and honest, and he'll tell it like it is. And he's very blunt about the fact that he was supporting people in any party to have an open door. What he's promising is that he's not going to be tethered to any special interests, any big money donors, or any lobbyists. And especially that's the threat of the third party run, right? If the RNC doesn't play fair with him, he's still not ruling out a third party bid. And if he does that and he can say, well, has he promised that? I don't know.
I am pretty confident in the answers that I've gotten from him, and I've asked him a few times. I'm pretty confident he'll never run third party.
Okay, well, he is appealing in the Republican Party primary electorate by saying he's not beholden to those people, though the people that he gave to would have given him some access. And that's the power of Donald Trump. That's why the idea, though, Sean, of a third-party run is so threatening to the Republicans, because if he runs as an independent, even if he's not going to win,
Hillary gets
it's a powerful message to Hillary gets elected, but it's a powerful message to the electorate, which is I'm just getting between another Bush and Clinton run.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Let me go back to Stephen Hayes. Stephen, I asked Trump, and I know it's a basic question. It's one of the first questions you ask every candidate, but I went back to it today. Here's a billionaire who's losing money by making this run for the presidency. He's funding his own campaign. He's beholden to nobody. I said, why? Why do you want to run and be president? Here's what he said.
What motivates Donald Trump to want to become president? I'm very interested in that answer.
So I'll tell you what. It's a very basic, very simple answer. My theme, and the whole theme of my campaign, is to make America great again. And I've loved this country, and I'm seeing our country go into the ground. It's going in such a horrible direction. We're not going to have between no borders, between horrible trade deals, between weakened military, between no taking care of our great vets who have to be taken care of and will be with me. So many things. I mean, you could just go on.
I would put out to you, Steve, and suggest to you that if he gave an answer like that tomorrow, that's appealing. Because I think most Americans feel that way, and they feel Washington is broken, and they feel that it's not working right now. What's your reaction to it?
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. And I remember you and I talking back during the 2012 cycle about the fact that Mitt Romney didn't do enough to really make that case, to say that we're really losing America in an emphatic way. And I think had he done that, he would have had a better result. You know, certainly Donald Trump this isn't the first time he's looked at running for president. He looked back in 1999 after years of Bill Clinton in the White House. He looked again in 2012 after Barack Obama in the White House for a few years. He certainly was critical of George W. Bush. And to go back to your third party point, I mean, you have pushed him on that question. He has given a more definitive answer over the past couple times he's been asked. But I guess it's hard to put too much faith in one answer from Donald Trump because his answers on a whole variety of issues, whether they're political tactics, whether they're overall strategy, or whether they're ideological, change sort of regularly. And so it's hard, I think, to put that much faith in what he's saying.
Charles, quick answer. We got to take a break.
Well, I think that's exactly why so many people are attracted to Donald Trump, is because, you know, they'll take him any day over the politicians. They're tired of the politicians. They're tired of the professional people around here who have done this to our country, and they want something different, anything different.
All right, guys, stay right there. We'll have more with our panel after the break. When we come back, though, Bret Baier, he is one of the debate moderators. He will join us. We'll get his take on the big debate and a quick programming note. Now, right after the debate, tomorrow night, midnight Eastern, 9 on the West Coast, a post-debate recap show live from Cleveland. We'll have interviews with the likes of Donald Trump and Scott Walker and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. They're all confirmed for tomorrow. But first, coming up tonight on Hannity.
I think all of us who are running owe voters an explanation about who we are and what we plan to do if we're elected. And that's what I plan to focus on. I hope that's what everyone will focus on.
A lot more on how the candidates are preparing for tomorrow's primetime debate, and then later tonight.
So everybody lets Trump get away with everything he wants to say. And the minute somebody brings up Jesus, says Jesus Christ without being angry, everybody gets in an uproar that it's too much religion in politics.
Frank Luntz is back to reveal what New Hampshire voters think of the GOP candidates like Marco Rubio and John Kasich and the advice they give to Donald Trump. Also tonight, the FBI is now investigating Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. We've got all the details straight ahead.